Hello and welcome back to this series of podcasts looking at the creation of an engineering drawing template in SolidWorks. So just a quick recap then on the lesson goals. In a moment we're going to start the process of creating a custom A4 border and title block using SolidWorks. In a separate podcast we'll then look at linking the properties to specified fields in title block so that whenever we bring in our models to the area we can display things like the material, automatically get the title of the drawing come in and so on. We might even have an opportunity there to tag on to that, inserting the projection symbol as a block, so we'll show you from predefined first, third angle projection symbols depending on the drawing we're creating, how to insert those. As a separate podcast, I'll look at saving the template as a drawing template sheet format. This is a critical element. Having reached the stage of developing it, we want to make sure that we save it correctly so that when we want to use it, it performs as expected. And indeed we'll do a demo to test the template and fine tune it for multi-drawing sheet use so that the additional tabs as we create a full set of working drawings bring in the correct material properties, for instance, for each component part. If it's not properly fine tuned, that won't happen, and indeed if we haven't correctly saved it, the additional tabs won't reflect the correct template each time. So let's pop over here to SolidWorks and make a little start. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to select new. I'm going to pick a drawing here and say OK to that. Now, just before going any further, you may be looking at this option here. If that's the case, it's just a case down the corner here. Novice will take us back to here, advanced here. I happen to be in this area, so I'm going to select drawing from here and say OK. That's going to open up the drawing environment. So rather than use one of the predefined SolidWorks ones, we're going to create our own customized template. And again, this can display slightly differently in the classroom depending on how it was last configured. If I click here, for instance, we see a rather reduced number of options. If I unselect that, we've got a bigger scope of them and so on. Neither of which really matters. As I say, we're going to custom our sheet, so let's go ahead and click on the ready button there for custom sheet size. So it's an A4 template we're creating, so we need to put in the parameters for the width and the height of that, which is going to be 297 in width for an A4 sheet of paper, and it'll be 210mm high. I can go ahead and say OK to that. So I do a fit to screen there, and so you can see it's left behind because I think the previous size there before editing was A3 and it's kind of left this ghost image. That's OK. Let me just also close down this model. We're not doing that at this stage, we're creating our template. But once I right click and I go to edit sheet format, which is the environment, for want of a better word, that we want to be in for creating the template, you'll see that that ghost image disappears. If I was to right click and come on to edit sheet, it's still gone. Okay. So edit sheet is the environment where we'll be later on bringing in our models to view within our title block and a border. Yeah. But to create that, first of all, we need to go in and edit something called the sheet format. This is where we're actually going to create our title block in the corner and format a border around the outside and so on. So let's begin that process by using just a standard corner rectangle. And then if I hit escape to get rid of the grips on that, I can then select the corner here. And over in the parameters, I can define where I want that corner to be. In this case, I want to create a border that is 10mm in and 10mm up from the corner, and I want to do the same now up here. So 297 less 10 is going to be 287. If I hit the tab key, 210 less 10 is going to be 200. So that establishes the corner here, and it gives me a position on the page there with the 10mm border all the way around. Now it's important we do this in stages and fix things into place. So before I go any further in terms of creating the title block, after establishing the outer border, I want to drag a window around all of that. I want to fix that into place. I don't want to be using sketch relations and dimensions like I would in a normal sketch because they're going to show in the area here. And obviously we don't want our template showing that information. So it's one of the few times I would be using that fix sketch relation. So I can then go and have a look at creating the title block here. So I'm just going to mock out a rough example of it. So it was 180 was the biggest part length, like so. And if I go ahead and fire in, again, I would recommend that you do it in stages, step by step. Now, I said there, the outer border, we don't want dimensions in that, but there's no way of fixing it without sizing it first. So in this case, we've had to put that dimension in, but I'm not going to delete it and take care not to move anything. I can then take a window around it, and once again, I can fix it into place so it's not going to move. And it is important you do this in stages. If everything's blue and you start adding dimensions, all the way dividing lines to create the individual fields within the tile block might unintentionally move in the wrong direction. So I would highly recommend you do a little bit at a time and fix it in step by step. So I've got a line over here somewhere that's coming up. I've got a dimension on that. I think that one was 95, so if I pick this edge out to this line, oh, that's 95. I can delete it and select it, I can fix it, I can click on that, and then I can use that line to pick the midpoint of it to divide it equally into two, make sure it's horizontal and coincident with the edge over here. That'll create that bit. We've got other elements in the cell. We've got a line, whoops, pick that up again. So we've got a line here, and we also want to be careful of it's not accidentally, when we're drawing these lines, to snap to endpoints or midpoints and imply a relation that we don't really actually want. So I'm going to leave this other line here because I see it goes up there. So let's see, I've got another line, somebody trying to call me there. Another line coming across, and just keep an eye on the yellow markers there so that we can see that we're getting coincident and horizontal vertical relations that we want. So I'll fire that in. Well, let's tidy this one up a little bit. So that's going to be 10. This one here is going to be 115. Escape out of that, select that dimension, delete it, select that dimension, delete it. Again, take a window, again, fix it into place. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this. You've got the general idea of how I'm going about that. Well, that line didn't appear to fix there. Let's just try that again. Fix this thing. Okay, so actually I was going to pause, but I'll hold on to it now. So I have fixed this, but the lines still appear to be blue. So if I grab that line and drag it, you can see it's now turned from blue to black, which is fully defined. You will sometimes find that happens. That's actually the first time I've seen it happen in lines like that. Typically, more often it happens on little lines like this, where I've had to grab the endpoint and just drag it, and then it's oh yes, that's right, I'm fully defined. It's a bit of a strange little gremlin there in the works. So I'm just going to pause it quickly while I put in the last couple of little lines, just to save a little bit of time. Okay, so back again. So I've added in them last couple of lines, dimensioned everything up, removed the dimensions, and fixed everything in place. And I say that process is one where we want to be going at it step by step by step, fixing things into place as we go. Okay. It's also just important to note that it's additionally important to do that before we start to add any of the text entities to describe the cells, like drawn by and date and scale and material and so on. We don't want that text in with this still being blue. We want to get this in fully defined before we add the text. So I'm going to stop this podcast at that stage, 7 or 8 minutes there, that's long enough for the time being. That'll give you an opportunity to have a go at this. But join me in the next podcast as we then look to get the textual annotations into the title block. Thank you.